Attention all SASSA beneficiaries, especially our beloved seniors across South Africa. July 2025 is bringing big news, and it's something you'll definitely want to hear about. In today's video, we're unpacking the official SASSA updates that include increases in monthly grants, new eligibility clarifications, and detailed benefit breakdowns, because understanding exactly what you're entitled to is more important now than ever. Now, we know that for many of our elders, these monthly SASSA payments aren't just extra support. They are the foundation of your financial security. Whether you're managing rent, medication, groceries, or helping out your grandchildren, every rand counts. And that's why this update is so critical. Starting this July, select grants will increase, giving some much-needed breathing room in a time when prices are still rising and the cost of living continues to stretch your pockets thin. But don't assume everyone automatically qualifies. That's where things can get tricky. In this video, I'll explain in simple terms who qualifies for the July increases, what the updated income thresholds look like, and what documents you might need to stay compliant. You'll also hear about hidden benefits and support programs many seniors overlook, extras like funeral coverage, care dependency top-ups, and more. This is not just about numbers. It's about your dignity, your comfort, and your right to access what the system has promised. Many seniors are left in the dark because no one takes the time to explain things properly. But not here. Today, I'm giving you everything you need to know without any confusion or boring government talk. Before we dive in, please do me one small favor. If you believe our seniors deserve more support and earlier payments, give this video a thumbs up. It helps spread awareness and make sure more people like you get the updates they deserve. Let's get started, because your money, your rights, and your peace of mind matter. Now that you've got a clear picture of what's ahead, let's dive deeper into exactly how these increases are going to affect you, your loved ones, and millions of other South Africans who depend on SASSA grants to get through each month. These aren't just numbers on paper. They're changes that could ease the daily struggles so many people face, especially in households where grants are often the only stable source of income. And with July 2025 bringing these long-awaited increases, it's important to unpack not just who qualifies, but what kind of real-life impact this will have. Let's start with the old age pension. This increase couldn't have come at a more crucial time. For elderly citizens, every rand counts. A few extra 100 rand might not seem like much to some people, but for someone choosing between buying medication or putting food on the table, it's a lifeline. This July, the old age grant has been adjusted to reflect inflation and cost of living increases. That means finally there's recognition that prices of essentials from bread to transport to electricity have skyrocketed. And while these grants might not eliminate hardship completely, they go a long way toward restoring dignity and offering a bit of breathing room. And what about the disability grant? The new adjustments make it possible for more individuals to maintain their medical routines and live with fewer compromises. For someone living with a chronic illness or condition, missing even one doctor's appointment or skipping a week of treatment can be a setback. But now, the increase is expected to help cover some of those hidden costs. Travel to clinics, special dietary needs, and even simple but important things like electricity to run medical devices. The goal here isn't luxury, it's sustainability. It's helping people not just to survive, but to live with some measure of stability and comfort. The care dependency grant and the foster child grant have also seen upward adjustments. In many cases, caregivers are doing the work of full-time parenting without the financial support that traditional households might have. These increases are especially impactful for grandparents who are raising children after the loss or absence of parents. With this new boost in July 2025, caregivers will have just a little more room to buy school supplies, food, or even clothing. Basic things that every child needs, but many families have been struggling to provide. And these adjustments mean fewer children going to bed hungry and more opportunities for them to stay in school and thrive. Eligibility for these grants hasn't changed drastically, but the details matter. One of the most important updates to pay attention to is a threshold change. In other words, SASSA has increased the income limits that determine whether you qualify for a grant. This is good news because many people were disqualified over small differences in income that didn't reflect their actual financial hardship. With these changes, more individuals, especially in multi-generational households, can now apply and qualify. If your household income is just slightly over the old limit, this change might bring you back into eligibility, especially if you're helping raise grandchildren or caring for a disabled family member. Another significant update is how SASSA is working on reducing delays and errors in processing applications and payments. That means faster approval times, fewer rejections based on missing paperwork, and more communication from SASSA officers. This year, they're also putting a major focus on improving the experience of senior citizens. many of whom have found the digital platforms difficult to navigate. There are now mobile teams and help desks that have been deployed to rural and underserved areas to provide direct support for grant applications, renewals, and queries. For seniors who can't easily travel to a branch or who struggle with technology, this is a real win. July 2025 will also mark a shift in how grants are delivered. More recipients will now receive their funds through direct bank deposit rather than via cash points or retail partnerships. This change aims to improve security and reduce the risk of theft and fraud, which sadly have impacted many elderly recipients over the years. The switch to direct deposits is part of a broader modernization of the system, and SASSA has committed to ensuring that no one gets left behind in the process. For those without bank accounts, temporary card systems or mobile payment options are being expanded in several provinces. On the topic of fraud, SASSA is also launching a new biometric verification process. This means that when you register or update your details, your identity will be confirmed using your fingerprint or facial recognition. While some people are skeptical of these technologies, the real goal is to stop unauthorized individuals from stealing grants by pretending to be someone else. It's been a major issue in past years, and this added layer of security is meant to protect the most vulnerable, especially those who might not have the strength or legal support to fight fraudulent claims. One of the most heartening developments tied to this increase is the rise in community awareness. In churches, clinics, and community halls across the country, people are talking about these changes. They're asking questions, attending workshops, and helping each other apply for benefits. Elders are even forming WhatsApp groups to circulate updates, payment dates, and advice about the application process. It's a beautiful example of grassroots support, where neighbors are stepping up to help neighbors, making sure no one gets left behind. This grant increase isn't just about numbers, it's about respect. It's about giving back to those who built this country, raised its children, and stood tall through some of its darkest moments. It's also about making sure that as South Africa grows, its elders are not forgotten in the process. Whether you're receiving an old age pension, disability grant, or caring for a child through the foster or care dependency grants, this July 2025 adjustment is an acknowledgement of your struggle and a small step toward a more supportive system. The long-term goal is to make these increases sustainable and part of a regular, predictable system that keeps up with inflation. Already, conversations are happening around making grant reviews part of the annual budget process instead of waiting for economic emergencies to trigger action. And that's why staying informed is more important than ever. By understanding your rights, staying current on updates, and participating in community conversations, you make it more likely that these improvements continue and expand. Now, let's take a moment to talk about the psychological impact of these grants. Financial stress can be incredibly damaging to one's health, especially for seniors. Constantly worrying about rent, food, and medication takes a toll on both the body and mind. But even a modest increase in income can bring a sense of relief, a sense of peace, being able to afford small comforts like a warm meal, an extra trip to the clinic, or even just buying a small gift for a grandchild can make life feel less like survival and more like living. And for those who are still waiting on their grant applications or appeals, take heart. SASSA has committed to clearing up backlogs and addressing appeal cases that have been pending for months. With new staff being hired and digital systems being upgraded, the hope is that fewer people will fall through the cracks. If you've submitted an application and are still waiting, make sure your contact information is current, follow up regularly, and never hesitate to visit a local office or ask for help from a social worker or community rep. As always, the future of social assistance in South Africa depends not just on what government does, but on how active the people are in demanding fairness, transparency, and consistency. These July 2025 increases are a step in the right direction, but they are not the final destination. There's still work to be done. But for today, let's celebrate this progress. Let's acknowledge that when people raise their voices, things can change. And let's make a promise to ourselves and each other that we'll keep pushing forward until every elder in this country can live with dignity and security. Thank you for staying with me through this full breakdown. If this video helped you, gave you hope, or clarified something you didn't know before, please give it a like. It helps us reach more people like you. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and turn on that notification bell because we'll keep bringing you every update, every new announcement, and every change that matters to your life. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.